let's take it back to the beginning. After drinking all this kava for a long time now, what is your definition of kava to your understanding? Because at first, I'm sure you didn't really have an understanding of what kava is, but now that you're a regular customer to kava, what is kava?
I mean, as a drink, like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like it's a root. It's a root tea basically. You know, because it's the kava plant is in the pepper family, only grows in the South Pacific or those kind of regions, and you have to. It takes about 3 to 5 years to mature. You have to dry it out, and then you can grind it down into the powder, and then you have to run it through the strainer to make the drink kava. It's got the active ingredient is kava lactones, and it's good for anxiety and sleep issues. But it's also so on the pros, it helps with anxiety and sleep, and it's a mood stimulant. But and it's also like, but it's not how to put it, like it doesn't have addictive properties, or it's not. It doesn't. While it will make you numb, and it doesn't exactly make you drunk. Like your clarity of mind is still yours, but you might slur, but it's because your tongue is numb, like and then, but on the bad side of it is that it is a diuretic, and so if you don't hydrate appropriately, you start getting like I had bad kava eyes last week, which is why I was glad that you called it off because my eyes were really red and really wrinkly. But it's because I had been mixing so much. I hadn't been drinking actual water to go with it. And it's like I forget sometimes it's a diuretic, and so it's if you don't hydrate with it, and because you're already going to pee a lot, like when you drink it. So sometimes I was avoiding drinking water because I didn't want to pee more, but because it's a diuretic, you're not just peeing out the kava, you're peeing out all liquids that you've consumed. So you need to replace all of those fluids. So there's that's kind of like as a drink, that's what kava is. But and it's like, yeah, it's got a lot of pros, but you got to be aware of what the cons can be. There is some research that says that it can link to kidney problems or liver problems, whichever organ filters stuff out, because by ingesting this, it's like, you run it through a strainer because you don't want this stuff to go through your body. Apparently over time it can actually cause some liver damage. But the thing is, there's some inconclusiveness with those tests because the test subjects that they conducted these studies on also consume alcohol, and we already know that alcohol also causes liver damage. And so it's not like a pure one for one test to see, well, was it the kava that did the damage or was it the alcohol that did the damage, because you're testing people who already consume another product that also does liver damage. And so
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they're doing the tests on Pacific Islanders, which Pacific Islanders are leading in regards of kidney diseases,
oh
right?
really?
Yeah, so Pacific Islanders are leading in
Is
all
it
the
because of the kava?
demographics. Uh,
Well, here's the thing,
who
that
knows? Who knows?
kava,
Weight. It could be a lot of things, and
yeah.
they're testing our people, and our people have a lot of kidney problems.
I would even go out and say it's not kava, because if it's a wider phenomenon, like kava is not consumed widely in the poly community. Like obviously more so than others, but social drinking of kava is a newer thing. You go back a generation or two, and drinking it socially was just not a thing. It was a ceremonial drink. And then even today, looking at our family, I don't know a lot of people who do mix at all. And so like, or they might have some here and there, but as far as like drinking it regularly, I think I might be one of the only ones in the family who does.
Yeah, I only drink on special occasions. I don't drink it normally,
Right.
regularly. Explain what a Kalapu is, because I know you're running one there in Las Vegas? What is it basically?
So the Kalapu is like it's a club, just like in Tongan and Samoan, it's the word for club. I think it's the same for Tongan. It has to be because so Kalapu is like, to my knowledge, from like everyone I talk to, they all tell me that Tongans are the ones who started the trend of social drinking of kava. Like I said, Samoans were, especially for the longest time, it's a ceremonial drink, and it's almost, I don't know if the word is blasphemous, but it wasn't meant to be a thing that was passed around lightly, But we obviously don't live in the old ways and everything we do anymore, and so I think the way that some people observe it is like this is a modern way of this is a modern observance of an old tradition. It's like we know it's not the way it was originally practiced, but it's just like with tattooing. If you're Samoan, you had your that was the traditional tattoo. Nowadays, you'll get sleeves and chest tattoos, neck tattoos, and they're all in Samoan style of tatau, but they are not the traditional tatau. They're the modern observance of the old tradition. And so when I look at social kava drinking, to me, it's the same thing. It's not what they did in the old days, but it's a modern observance of what they did in the old days. And so Kalapu is like, because Tongan started the kava social scene, they also started hey, let's make a kava club. So the idea behind the club is that, well, kava costs money, the water costs money, the venue may cost money if you're not in somebody's garage or whatever. And so you need to raise money in order to, if this is your hobby, just like any hobby, it's not free. If you're in a bowling league, you still got to get your bowling ball or pay your fees at the lanes, like it doesn't come out of nowhere. But the thing with Kalapus is also like, for most Kalapus is also, they still observe very heavily like the Fa Samoa, let's take care of everybody kind of stuff. And so we see it all the time where it's like we get together and it's like somebody's mom is going back to the island. Let's help them out with that, because as plane tickets are expensive. And by extension, you're in a Kalapu, it's like we all have our own families, but we all emphasize family values, especially like in our Kalapu, like Tele Tai Few, that's one of the core values is our families. And so we're not asking people to shun their families for the sake of the Kalapu. We're here to help each other out with that. And that's why, so if there's a death in the family, if there's some need and for us or one of our family members, we'll get together as a Kalapu, as another group, to just throw in $20 here or there and see what we can do to help our friends with. And so, yeah, we are all paying dues, but in as life goes on and we deal with things, you'll benefit a lot from that too, because of this club that we're all in, where we share this bond. We also throw in and take care of each other, And so like, and it's like, but at the end of the day, it's just a social club. Like that's all. That's all a Kalapu is, And some of them people are diehard, dyed in the wool. This is my set kind of Kalapu, and some of them are like, look, this is my thing, but as long as my other priorities, God, family, work, all those are in line, then there's the Kalapu.
So it's basically like a support group, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's the way to think of it.
if I were to like want to partake, how would I get into a kalapu? What was your experience in getting into it?
Well, the cool thing about the Kalapus is you don't have to be a member. I can't speak for all Kalapus, but in the Las Vegas Kalapus, what it is like the Kalapu is it's there to uh, to create the Faikava, right? To create the meeting where we can all drink and socialize and participate in this, and it's on the members to provide that. Like I said, though, like if I saw more, you show up. You usually show up with something. But let's say you're down on your luck, you're just passing through. It doesn't matter. Come in and participate. enjoy the kava, and it's on the member. That's how we do, and like you'll be welcomed there. You don't have to be a member to come participate in the Faikava. You have to be a member to create the Faikava, but you don't have to be a member to partake in it. You know, so if you want to come in, like I go to other Kalapus all the time, and I'm not a member. I won't be a member. I only joined this one because I was supporting my friend who raised his hand and said, "Hey, I want to do this," and so it just kind of led into me being one of the founding members. But even if I left the Kalapu, I would still be able to come to the mix unless I really did something that shunned everybody, and then I might not be welcome. But for the most part, if you just want to come mix, everybody's welcome. You know, and like when we have guests come in, the way we do it is we supply all the kava. Now, if guests want to throw in, they're free to. But if we want to keep running and we got a lot of people visiting, we'll put it out in our own private chat among the members saying, "Hey, we're about out of kava. We need to buy another kilo. Let's start putting the money together to do it." We won't make a big announcement saying, "Oh, if you guys want to keep going, throw in." We don't want to do that to guests. That's on us since it's our night, our Kalapu night. It's on us to be the providers of that stuff.
I'm sure you've had a lot of good experiences in the Kalapu, but other than drinking the kava, what is your favorite thing about mixing and being in a Kalapu?
It's the social element because like so I started drinking kava around my first time drinking kava I shared on the podcast before was in on deployment overseas. There was a Hawaii unit there. They were mixing in the back. I got a few cups, and that was my first time trying it. But that was like a out of nowhere thing. I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but I didn't really get it. But then in around 2017, I went back to work at the club, and it was like right after my divorce, and I was kind of bummed out all the time. But then all the other polys that I'm working with at the club, they were like, "Hey, man, you should come mix with us. We're going to mix after work." And I was like, "Mix?" I didn't get it, and like, yeah, like drink kava. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, sure." And I just went over. We used to mix at the South Point here in Vegas. South Point Casino was a good spot. All the club bouncers from a specific resort would all go meet up there and mix, and that's it was a support group. Like I said, I had just gotten divorced and I was bummed out all the time. I'd go home and feel sorry for myself after work, but now I started looking forward to my work week because it meant that I got to go hang out with the boys afterwards. And it wasn't even the kava because, like, for a while I wouldn't even drink that much at all, and I didn't even get why anyone drank it. I was just there to hang out and just feel like I'm part of something. That wasn't a kalapu. That was just a mix. And then it was just something that made me feel happy. And it wasn't the drink itself; it was the social environment with it. When I started leaving town to do more army stuff, like more trainings, and then I deployed again. I would get kava and I would mix it on those things, but the good feeling came from it made me feel like I was hanging out with my friends again. You know, the kava itself, like I said, it numbs you and it's a mood enhancer. But I was more just taking it to reflect on, hey, I'm all stressed out on this army, doing this army stuff. But when I get my little moment of peace, like I would just palu my bucket and mix by myself. And like, I'd feel like I was hanging out with the boys again. And then some of my soldiers would join me and I created my own social group with that. Then I come back here for a while when I was back in Vegas, I would still mix, but it was mostly by myself. Then I discovered the Kalapus and all the guys that are basically my social network now. And it's like it's hard for me to go back to mixing by myself because it's the social element of it that I enjoy the most. And even like, look, there are sometimes I'll give myself a break from drinking kava. Like I won't drink it for a while because like I said, you've got to, everything in moderation. That means you got to know when it's like, hey, it's time to take a break. And so recently, when I told you I had my bad kava eyes, I took a break, and but I would still go to the mixes and the kalapus because I just want to hang out. It's just the social element that I like going to. I could do if I completely stop drinking kava, I will still go hang out at all the mixes, and it's a I enjoy it too because it's also a cultural experience for me. You know, me growing up in the mainland, being Afakasi, I didn't grow up with a lot of with but like my Samoan heritage is a big part of who I am, but it's mixed in with a lot of things that is not Samoan heritage. And so when I get to do something like this, it is something where I'm like, I know specifically my family, it wasn't part of their observance in our culture, but it connects me to the culture in that way. And then I go there, look, I learn more about Samoan customs. We have people there that do tatau. We have people there that are like orators that know the history of stuff, and like you never know who you're gonna meet. I meet people that are like long distance relatives at mixes. I meet people who serve their missions in Alesa and know my family on the island. Like and so it's funny because coming together around the bowl, it really is connecting us or keeping us connected as we go off into the broader world and become participants in the global family. If there's a mix nearby, that's your chance to kind of reconnect with your cultural roots. And so, yeah, those are some of the things I like the best about it.
So a lot of people probably pass through the Kalapus, all sorts of people from different backgrounds. So can you tell us a story? You can omit names and certain informations. A story of maybe it was told to you, or anything that happened in the Kalapu that stood out to you. Because people will be telling stories. I'm sure you've heard some interesting gossip, but what
Yeah.
story is out there?
Well, the biggest thing you got to know about going to a Faikava is that whatever story you hear, you don't take it serious because a big element in Faikava is like there's guys like me who I'm kind of a stick in the mud, and I'm kind of like straight laced or whatever, however you want to say it. I'm not overly goofy or whatnot, but sometimes I just like to have serious discussion or conversation. But you got to be careful if you're that guy because a lot of guys will start off a story and it's a complete lie. They're just trying to get you to open up about something dumb because you think that it's a real conversation, and it's just a game. It's a fight kind of a game. It's like let's see if we can get this guy and if you start getting mad or something like, oh, he's playing for real. He's playing for real. I'm like, hey, I learned the hard way on that one. It's like, but it goes like hand in hand with poly humor and like when it comes to us like roasting each other, teasing each other, it goes hand in hand with that. But you got to be aware that if you go to a Faikava, that is part of the game, and so you've got to like, I'll just if I can detect it coming, I'll just kind of like keep my mouth shut, like, hey, you guys play your game or whatever, have your fun. But I'm probably, like, and I'll join it. You learn to roll with it and to join in on it. But depending on how far they want to take the joke, I'll be in or out. We'll see. I don't know if that answered your question.
We'll leave it at that. So I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the poly podcasts, they always have some sort of Kalapu or a Kava business sponsoring that. Have you been seeing that a
I've noticed
lot?
that. I've noticed that for sure. That makes
I think,
sense.
I think because they're poly, and it's mainly because some of them drink kava that they would actually be promoting kava. But for us, well, for me, I don't want to be stuck in that category. So, would you like to be sponsored or be promoting kava products on our podcast if the opportunity arises?
I
And
would.
what are your thoughts on podcasters, especially poly podcasters, promoting kava?
I think it all makes sense. I mean, because it's our culture first off, and so Kava has to do with us, but we're also the biggest consumers of it. Now, Kava is growing in popularity, and a lot of other people and other cultures are starting to like tune into it and participate in it. Usually, people who have some kind of direct friendship with a Polynesian or something, like they get into it at some point or another. And so, to me, it's like, hey, if it's part of your culture, and if your audience is Polynesians, that you're gonna be listened to by the main customer base of this product, it makes sense. And I personally don't have any moral qualms with it because to me, it's in another category. It's not drugs or alcohol or anything like that. But that's not to say that there's nothing that bad that can come of it. But the same would go for caffeine, which you can get in sodas and energy drinks. The same thing would go for sugars that'll make you morbidly obese and give you all sorts of stuff. And it's like, look, yeah, I'm not ever going to tell somebody that there's all pros and no cons to drinking kava. That would be a lie, but it's the same risk that comes with literally anything else that you consume. And so that's why to me, it's like, I don't have a personal moral qualm about it, but that's me, you know.
No, that this just connects us to the next question, and it's about religion, right? So the religion, just in general, as kava drinkers, have you accepted? How would I rephrase this?
I think I kind of know where you're going with this one.
Yeah,
It's
as
like,
as kava drinkers, how are you?
how do we reconcile it
Yeah,
with our religion?
reconcile with a religion, kava and religion.
So, and that's a good question, especially because, especially for you and I, we're both LDS or Mormons, you know, and we have a health code where we don't drink coffee, tea, tobacco. And like I just said, kava is technically a tea, you know. But and so I look at it, I'm like, I'm kind of in the gray area with it. And I do see things where I acknowledge kava could be a problem for that because one of the reasons that we don't consume alcohol and drugs and stuff is that we have our agency to make our free choices down here, but we need to make our agency to not destroy our bodies. And like when we become chemically dependent on anything, we're giving up our freedom of choice because now instead of choosing, do I take this or do I not? We're like, I have to have it. I have to have it. And it's like you're forsaking that gift of freedom to choose when you're just chemically compelled to do it. I have never noticed an addictive property to kava like that, but even like the lifestyle around it, the culture around it, this is where I had to like reevaluate my priorities. It's like, look, am I shunning my church obligations because I had my Kalapu obligations or my Kava obligations? If the answer is yes, then it's a problem. Am I shunning my family because of my mix? Then that's a problem. Absolutely. And it's like everybody is an agent unto themselves. But to me, I see that more like in the lines of like a hobby. If you're so into this video game that you're not going to work, if you're so into this video game that you're not going to church or blah blah blah, that then it's an issue. It's like, so there's vices to this, but it's one of those vices that you can find in other things. That doesn't make it. The point is you need to maintain a clarity of mind to understand, is this a vice? And I know that depending on where you are in certain parts of the world, we leave it to local church leadership to kind of make that call. So our bishops in the Mormon church, there are wards or stakes where they put it out that we discourage you from partaking of kava. And look, if that were the case, if my local church leader said we don't want you doing that, I would be beholden to listen to that counsel and I would do it because again, my priorities, God, family, and then everything else comes underneath that, you know. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers it, but like for me, like I don't think it's a bad thing, but you got to know yourself. Like if you are or if you're giving up part of who God wants you to be, and because of some one of your obsessions, and if that obsession is kava, then yeah, you know, maybe take a step back and reevaluate yourself. But that's my take. I'm no authority on this. I'm no spokesman for the church. That's just as I've pondered it myself. That's kind of the conclusion I come to, and I've gotten a lot of positive things from it, including interactions with people in the church. I know different islands observe it differently, bro. If you go to Tongan like I don't know about Tongan LDS words, but like we hang out with a lot of Methodists down here in Vegas. They mix in the church. It's part of their church practice. You have a church meeting, and then they be mixing at the church. It's like and they're singing church songs the whole time, and it's like it's their church mix, and it's like that's a carryover from the island ways, and they're still doing it today. And so I think those things can be reconciled, but again, you got to be honest with yourself. Is this taking away from something more important, such as my religious obligations? If so, for me personally, take a step back then. You got to, and that's going to come down to you being honest with yourself.
Yeah, I have nothing against drinking kava because I would be a hypocrite to say that no to kava while I'm drinking tea, I'm drinking coffee, I'm drinking soda, and all these other things like energy drinks that are potentially harmful to my body, with all these artificial sugars and artificial stuff that they put into the drinks. But what are some of your tips of drinking kava? Because I've noticed that you just drink it like a fish nowadays.
Man, I hope not. I'd say first off is drink water with it, hydrate yourself. Kava is a diuretic, and I think that's one of the most harmful things that could come of it is that you don't properly hydrate. I say the second thing is that I can't tell you how to have fun, but to me, it's like if you're drinking so much that you become sick from it, then stop. Like just enjoy yourself because there are times where if you drink too much of it, you're just full of liquid and you get to a point where you start to throw up. And it's like when that's happened for me, it's like I don't go home feeling good. I go home feeling sick, and it's a bad memory now instead of a good one. So it's like, hey, enjoy it, but you don't have to go cup for cup with everybody. Like all things in moderation, go at your own pace. And if you want some more, get some more. If you want to pass on this round, pass on that round. Because in the end, if you push yourself and you make it all about, oh, I got to outdrink everybody, it doesn't make for a fun time, at least not for me. Plus, these guys, you say I drink like a fish. I learned that I'm not on that level because I tried to go cup for cup with these monsters over here. Don't ever try to do that. So
And you can chase it down with like a soda and stuff, huh?
yeah, to get something sweet. I would actually what I would start doing for a while is I take mints because mints kind of naturally has it kind of calms your stomach already. Like if you're feeling nauseous or something, sometimes mints kind of help. And so sometimes I would just, I get tired of drinking sweets and adding more liquid in with me. And if I'm like drinking soda with the kava, soda isn't really good for hydration either. And so, but if you're looking for something to kill the nasty taste, well, water doesn't really help with that. But if you have like a mint in your mouth and then you drink some water, it's refreshing. That's what I like to do. But yeah, somebody
Eh,
has like their little
Yeah.
chaser because kava. People ask like, "What does it taste like?" I'm like, "It tastes like it looks like mud." It is. It's earthy. The nice way to say it is earthy.
Have you had any of those kava gummies, or they trying to make it into a candy or add flavor into it?
I had the candies was because you guys sent it to me when I was on my last deployment in one of the care packages. I was like, "Oh shoot, I got kava candies." You guys sent me a strainer too, so that was good looking. So I appreciate that. But it was like the candies were good. I liked them, but it'll definitely make your mouth numb, just like the drink. And in fact, a little bit more so because now instead of it just going down your throat, you're sucking on it. And so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the candies. I thought they were pretty good. And actually, the sweetness, it doesn't taste like bitter kava. It tastes like a good candy, but it just makes your tongue numb.
Like, is there anything you want people to know about kava?
No, I mean, I just look. I enjoy it, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to make it all of who I am, And so it's like, and when I make my comments on where I rationalize it with my religious beliefs, if somebody calls me out and says, "Hey, you're wrong," I'm not here to argue with you. Like I don't know everything. That's just where I rationalize it, and for my faults, I'm sorry, but when I reconcile myself before God, I don't see this as an issue so long as I am carrying out my other obligations. And that's why I kind of guess I call it a moral gray area a little bit for me. But along with that, like, enjoy it or don't enjoy it. It's not a thing that you absolutely have to do to be poly, or anything. I'm not any more poly now than I was before I started mixing. That's the other thing. It's just something that I feel has enriched my life, mostly through the social circle of it. I enjoy the substance, but it's mostly about the social experience, which I told you sometimes I periodically cut the substance out and just go to enjoy the social aspect of it. So that is a possibility. And but yeah, don't make it all of who you are, but it can be something that will enrich your life, and if you want it to.
Any last remarks or closing remarks for our listeners who are tuning in today in regards to Kava?
First off, I apologize because I am in no means a Kava expert. I'm very much a newcomer to this subculture that it is, and I'm just giving you my thoughts. And to everybody who I've mixed with and has enriched my life, I thank you for doing that. Like I said, it really started to play a role in my life around a dark time in it, but like all things, if you want it to be a vice, it can be that, and it can create another dark time. But that's on the individual, and having give yourself a healthy reflection on your personal life to see, is it helping you or is it not? And I do that periodically for myself. I got to assess my priorities all the time, and I think there is a healthy way for me to include Faikava and my Kalapus in that as well, and even in support of it. And so I'm grateful for that. And again, I'm grateful for everyone I've mixed with that's just been a friend or provided a bucket or whatever it is. Thank you for helping me out. I hope I'm able to do that for others in return.
Well, thanks, Spence, for sharing your Kava experience and for telling your stories. I didn't want to make this episode about you and Kava, but it is about you and Kava. Because
Yeah,
you're
put me on blast.
yeah, so really appreciate you sharing. And to our listeners, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Behind the Lava Lava. We hope you found this discussion that we had enlightening. We encourage you to explore our websites and our social media platforms. Be sure to follow, subscribe. If you found value in this episode, follow Behind the Lava Lava. Leave us a review. This is Michael Tan and Spencer Harmon signing off. Tofa Soifua.
Working on my interests, it's who I am. I'm trying to make these digits look like EINs. When the help ain't free, you all help me. Salute to folks who turn their names to LLCs. The wealth is in itself to help a non-profit. To be better women or better men, whether business by veterans or common folks with a dream. We're all born with the same strength. We tread waters that were untouched. Let's be on the same wavelength. Behind the lava, front of our eyes. Let our legacy live off it when we're up in the sky. All signs point to us to help someone make a difference. With God as my witness, cause talk business.